Hey everybody, welcome to the Dad Challenge podcast, Real Crime, where we go down a lot of worm hills and we talk a lot about crime. Not a lot, but here and there we do some shows when something crazy is going on in our world, specifically this case, which is I call it the Idaho 4. A lot of people are calling it something else. But that's some big stuff went down. Of course, I was on vacation when it all went down and I wasn't here. I couldn't do any live streams. So I've just been listening to podcasts and Annie from 10 to Life and everybody else, Will, who's talking about it, and just decided that I was going to come on and we're going to talk about it. Because here at the Dad Challenge podcast, Real Crime, you can see hashtag Real Crime, what we do is we have a collective conversation. Everybody has an opinion, wrong or right, and we talk about what could be and all those kinds of things. Like, I have some questions I want answered that we can maybe, spitball here and there, but it's a collective conversation. That's what we do here. So not trying to solve it or anything. We're just trying to have a conversation about it. And I think that's something that we do here that a lot of people don't do. A little bit different, and I kind of like that. So yes, it is live, folks. I'm live. So your chats are in there. Yes, we all love Annie from 10 to Life. She is boss. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of things have gone. I was waiting for a major update before I was going to come on and do this, because as it was with the Gabby Petito thing, it seemed like there was a major update like every other day. There was something new that happened. And the difference between the Gabby Petito case and this one is that those major updates actually led to, and were pretty much right on track with what happened. Okay. Whereas all the updates in this case and all the people talking about it, none of it came true. Okay. None of it was even close. There were people doxing guys in hoodies. There were people talking about all this craziness about what went down, and none of it was true. And what we found out since then, obviously since dude was arrested, was that this was crazy. Was it connected? Was it not connected? Or did he know them? Did he know them on Instagram? Did he stalk them? What was going on? Is he the one? Because his lawyer is claiming today, or I think yesterday, we're excited to get him exonerated. He's gonna be pleading not guilty apparently. So I know a lot of you know way more about this case than I do, which is why I like to have this conversation, right? This is a crowdsourced conversation. Sometimes I'll get it wrong. Some of you know way more than me, and so I'll ask you, and I think that's kind of really cool about what we do here. So, where's everybody from? Throw up where you're from. I did not see the Google searches yet, but I've heard inklings in Twitter about his Google searches. This is a good comment. Moscow PD did an amazing job of keeping their lips sealed, probably knowing he was watching and reading everything. That's the thing, right? So when it came to the Gabby Petito case, we knew this, everybody knew who it was, right? You had to say allegedly and all that stuff, but everybody knew. And that's what made that case so crazy. We all knew there was something up, and we were all right, basically. Everybody who thought Brian did what he did, he did it. We were all right. In this case, nobody was right, and everybody was making, if you go to that Reddit, the subreddit, which is Idaho 4 or whatever, it's Moscow Murders or whatever they're calling it, pages, days out, every minute there's a post about this case. So, all right, Dodge City, Kansas. Thank you, Caitlin. I appreciate that. Tirana. Got the Tirana. Florida. It's nice here, actually. It's spring weather right now for some reason. It's really weird. Hey, there's Cherry. Real Crime. Yeah, you know what? Justice Clark says people are going crazy, pointing fingers. And, you can't... at the same time, that's kind of what this community is really all about. Now, it's not to say that they're wrong or right. It's just that people have their theories and their ideas, which is what we do here. Except this time, we didn't know who it was. So, again, with the Gabby Petito case, we knew it was Brian. And so we just wanted to backtrack, find out what people knew. No, that, thank you, Queen. All that kind of stuff. So it was kind of different. Here, I was really just waiting for this moment so we could talk about more, because there's more questions. Now that we know there's a suspect for sure, we don't know if he did it or not, but we now know there's a suspect, and it seems a little bit like, yeah, this is probably the guy, because they went out of their way to arrest him in, I think, Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken, he was arrested. So, and now he's got an extradition case tomorrow. And I've been hearing inklings that he might just waive the extradition because he just wants to come and clear his name. That's what I'm hearing. Well, you're scared for your friend who goes to Idaho University, but I think a lot of people are breathing a little bit easier now that they have a suspect. And clearly, still to this day, we now know that they literally know more than they're telling us. right? They clearly know this guy did it. Now it's just about building the case and making it a solid case, because they're still asking for information from anybody from his past, right? They want the information to say, look, we still don't have our case to where it needs to be, so we need all the information. Thank you, Belinda. I appreciate it. Yeah, the affidavit is not going to be released until, like, is it tomorrow during the case? I think, again, a lot of what we want to know the information for, we're not going to know, because like they did with this case, the only thing that they really released to the public was that the white car, the Hyundai Elantra, right? And that's what he was driving when he got back. So that was a big one. Again, people not wanting to move to Idaho, I understand that stuff, but hands up for real, if you think that this guy is the guy, right? We can say allegedly all I want. I honestly believe that it is, because I don't think, and for a couple of reasons. I think because Moscow police held everything really close to their chest at this point, really tight. And so I think that they know it's him because of the genealogy, I think it's genealogical DNA that they found. He wasn't in the system, but they found it through like 23andMe or whatever that was that connected him to the family. And then they found that he went to school 10 miles away. He was a PhD of criminal science or something like that. And then he looks the way he looks, which we'll see in a second. I'm saying, I think it's him. Like, yep. But if it's not, holy shit, right? And the only thing they can do now is lose it. They know who they have because of the DNA that they likely found, right? They wouldn't just come out and do this and tell everybody they arrested somebody without being pretty sure. At this point now, it's on the prosecution to make sure everything sticks, to present the case, because people have gotten off. There's still no murder weapon, right? If his DNA's in the house, can he explain that? One of the questions I have is, will he use the excuse that I went to a party at the house? These dorms or whatever, these off-campus housings, a lot of them had parties all the time. Not usually have guest lists or anything like that, but probably full of students, hundreds, if not more, of people, right? All he has to say is, I was there at a party. All he has to find out, if he was stalking these people, which a lot of people think he was, all he had to do was say, and if he's studying criminal psychology and everything else, and we're going to go through his posts that he made on Reddit. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Belinda. If he was studying them, if he was stalking them, if he was making this plan, like, it seems like a lot of people think that he was trying to create the perfect murder, the perfect crime, because that's what he studied, right? Does that make sense? So maybe he just got a little bit too in-depth to his studies, and he wanted to see if he could do it. Like, I mean, that's crazy. It's psychopathic to be that way, but yeah. But if they found his DNA there, and he was stalking, and he knew all their things, he knew they had a party like 2 weeks ago, he says, hey, I was at a party at their house this day, right? And they could look back and say, it looks like there was a party there. That's how his DNA got there, depending on where his DNA is, right? If his DNA is under fingernails, maybe not, right? If his DNA is just somewhere, then, I mean, again, they're not telling us. We're not really going to probably know any of that stuff until the trial, right? Yeah, so many accusations, but also can't blame them for looking at all the options. I would want that too if I died, but people are going to extremes to point fingers. Like, I believe, I agree with you on that. The same thing would happen kind of with the Petito. But the one net benefit to doing lives like this and to all these creators who cover this type of stuff is that it makes the world super interested in it, and it puts a lot of pressure on local law enforcement and everything else to stick to it and like go hard at it, right? And so that's one net positive, where it's kind of holding those people accountable and like in some cases maybe helping them. I don't know. He wants this. He wants everyone to talk about it. He wants to be famous. I mean, if that were the case, and possibly yes, why is he saying not guilty? Why is he saying I can't wait to be exonerated about this? This is the issue, Aaron. The thing I'm scared about, because Aaron says, I'm sure they'll have a crap ton of info on his phone and computer, right? And here's what I'm scared of. If this guy is studying criminal psychology and studying mass murderers and everything else for like his life, it seems like he would study their methods, right? And so what I'm scared of is that he studied their methods to a degree where he thought or made a plan where something as simple as just your search history, he wouldn't be stupid enough to do that. Or he'd have a computer or did it somewhere else or had a different computer that's not registered or whatever the case may be, right? I'm wondering if that's part of this where he was trying to do something, create the perfect crime because this is what he studies for a living. That's what I'm scared of here. I think he's cocky because he believes he knows what he's doing. And that's kind of what's in my brain right now. I feel like this is why this is even more interesting now, like in a gross way, you know what I'm saying, in a little bit morbid way. It's interesting because this guy, what he studies, and that should freak everybody out, right? So I want to show you guys the post he made. Let me see if we can bring it up here quickly. It was posted in XCons, which has since been deleted, by the way. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'll read it, obviously. Zoom in a bit. There we go. Oh, thank you, Queen Bee. Appreciate it. If they find any of the victim's blood in his car, his party attendance, exactly. Agree with you on that. Yeah. And again, they have his car now. Here, I'll get back to that in a second. Like they have his car. They have, and again, they'll have access to his computer, to his apartment, to everything else. I'm just scared that with modern day technology and research abilities and this guy actually doing that for a living, that I'm scared that he covered all his bases. But they clearly, I mean, it's going to be hard to not tie this guy because if his excuse is that I was at a party and that's how my DNA got there, I don't think that's going to fly because it sounds like they have like a really compelling case of DNA. Like it was found in a place that you're not just going to get just by being there. Right? Does that make sense? It's not just be like, oh, I was at the party and I went to their bedroom and did something or whatever, right? It sounds like it's going to be a case of like, there's just no way this could have gotten there weeks ago or something like that, right? Yeah, his Reddit account was either deleted or suspended. Obviously, this is a big post that was getting bombarded on Reddit. And so I'll show you this real quick. So this is what he posted in our XCons and Reddit. Oh, thank you, that KK. He was wearing gloves and went to the store to hide his DNA. Explain that. What do you mean to the store? Can you please do a rundown? What's going on? Mary, we're just talking about the Idaho 4, and we're talking about this guy. We haven't even shown his picture yet. We're just showing that the guy that's been, arrested for the murders is a criminal psychologist, I think, PhD at a local university about 10 miles away. He was the guy that had the white car that they were looking for. They arrested him like 2,000 miles away. We're going to get to that. We're just there right now. I'm just about to show the post that he made like almost a year ago or like 8 months ago or something like that. So I can't start over, guys, because I wouldn't be fair to everybody that's already been here. So just I'll leave it up. You guys can watch it afterwards. I worry too, but I feel maybe this dude has that fake confidence, like the terrorists who attacked Norway those years ago. Yeah. And, a lot of these guys who are psychopathic and everything else, they do have that fake confidence about them. But the one thing that's different about him that in my gut, and I hope I'm wrong, is that because of what he studies, a PhD isn't something that's like, this guy's already gone. He's got an undergrad. He's doing his like master's PhD in this field. That's why I'm a little bit scared about it. Reddit users thinks he was inside looking. If you read his comments, it's eerie. He stated everything is fact. And I didn't get the comments, and maybe someone can send me the link to where his comments are, but this has been deleted since then. But this post is quite telling. It says, "My name is Brian, and I'm inviting you to participate in a research project that seeks to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. In particular, the study seeks to understand the story behind your most recent criminal offense, with an emphasis on your thoughts and feelings throughout your experience." Right there. That line, with an emphasis on your thoughts and feelings about your experience. Hear that. In the event that your most recent offense was not one that led to a conviction, you may still participate. Additional surveys are included after the open-ended section as to best understand your unique traits. The study should take about 15 to 20 minutes to fully complete. Oh, thank you, Wanya? Does anyone think he's been in the chats of the channel's talk? Of course, I think he would be for sure. Your identity and all answers provided are completely confidential, and a link to the survey is also an anonymous link. This research has been approved by the DeSales University IRB. Participants must be 18 years of age or older. If you opt to participate, you may terminate participation at any time for any reason. If you have any questions about this research, you may contact the research team. Student investigator Brian Koberger, and anonymous link to study. So there it is. I don't have the comments that were written after this, and so I'm sure I can find it if I really went deep. I read that he also studies serial killers. I personally think he saw the fame like Jeffrey Dahmer got and wants the same attention. And if you look at this guy, and I'll show you a picture of him. Let's see if I can find it here. Like, yeah. Right? Like, I mean, dang. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but dang. So this is an article that was posted today about, I guess, an inmate that was in there that claims he was flashing other women inmates and saying, I cut them, I'll cut you. But it seems that this might be a hoax, or she was confused about who was saying it and that he wasn't doing it. He looks like, in his picture here, and in case he's wearing an alive robe is what they call this thing. He looks pretty like, hey, he's calm. He thinks, that's what I'm scared of. I'm scared about his calm demeanor, that he has covered his bases, right? Because remember, guys, you have to be super compelling in your arguments if you're going to convict a guy for murder, because in Idaho, I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, there exists the death penalty. And if this guy is guilty of this and is proven, you can die from it. Okay? Thank you very much, Carol. So this is the thing that gets you. You got, like, if you just like DNA's there and he has an excuse for the DNA, I don't think that's going to be compelling enough unless it's DNA that's, again, in a defensive capacity or something like that. And even then, I don't know, right? Maybe you could say we're at a bar. I don't know. I think it's not just one thing that's going to do it. They need an entire case. No knife found yet. This is one of the big things. Where's the murder weapon? Yes, Idaho's death penalty. That's what I thought. So nothing has come out yet to say whether or not he was the stalker of the girl or not. So far, I think they haven't really said how they connected him, except through, I think, genealogical DNA, which is what I think they're saying, meaning that they found DNA and then they connected it through a public source. When he was going grocery shopping, he wore gloves so no one could take things he touched to run on his things he touched and threw his trash away. Really? Really? So he was shopping and would wear gloves everywhere. Interesting. I watched a video that said the dates of his study came out 1 month prior to his graduation. Therefore, it couldn't have been his education. The dates don't add up. Interesting. Very interesting. Right? I mean, how easy is it to get rid of a knife? Bury it. You literally could bury it and never be found. No, but Kaylee's dad said they had found a connection but have not confirmed how. Okay. Which we think is going to be DNA. Like, that's what I think the internet's saying. Something came up, they found through I can't say the word. Anyway, they probably found some DNA that's not registered inside of a conviction bank, whatever you call that. And then so they went to a public place and they found DNA that someone publicly posted that said, yeah, you can have access to this. And they found family, right? And then they connected the dots to the family, to this guy who lived 10 miles away, to this guy who has the white Hyundai Sonata or whatever the car is. That's what I'm thinking. But I don't think their case is as solid as they think, because they're still asking for all this information about him to build their case about his past. I've heard that there is Instagram accounts that look like him, but people are saying that they are fake. The green vest he's wearing in this picture is a S vest, meaning they think he's going to unalive himself or people are going to hurt him. This is the thing. If they can prove that this is the guy that was following Kaylee, then, I mean, that's going to be a pretty big hurdle for the defense to come over, right? Here's a question I had. Did the cops release the Hyundai info to make him sweat and try to spook him and come out of hiding? So this is one of the things I saw on Reddit. If you go to these posts, one of the big questions people were trying to find out, why did the police release that bit of information? Were they trying to release that information while having eyes on him and the car? Is that the issue? Is they were trying to see if they released the information and they got their eyes on him and then they see him get packed and take off. That's what I'm wondering, because they didn't release much about anything else except for they thought it was targeted. They thought it was a one-time thing. And now they're wondering, they released the car as like bait. You know what I mean? I heard that they were looking for the wrong year car, but if you look at the cars, they're the like the, I don't know how you call it, like the body of these vehicles looks almost identical. It's almost impossible to tell the difference. So did you see the girl that had him as her TA? And in class, they talked about the murders. Can't imagine being a whoa. What? He talked about this in his class? What I did hear was from his students, a couple of them said he's a really tough marker, and because he was a teaching assistant. And during this time that this was all going down, apparently he started marking a little bit more leniently, and he looked a lot more tired during the time before and after the murders. So a lot of students noticed a shift in his behavior. Now that could just be because now that he's the thing, they're all looking back and looking for signs. But it looked like he was super tired, and that his marking was changed during that whole period, because either he's stalking and he's running at a time and he doesn't have time to grade paper, so he's just quickly going through it. That's what it makes sense to me, right? He's like, oh yeah, let's just go. Right? And then he's doing he's not paying as much attention, and then he's talking about it inside the class. That to me seems like a little bit more plausibility. And if they're obviously interviewing every person that worked with him and was working and he taught as a teaching assistant. This is a good question. I wonder why he didn't kill everyone in the house. I wonder if there was something that was with him and prevented him from getting to the other two in the dog. This is something I think will come out in the trial. The door was locked or something, or he just thought it was a basement, didn't think people were sleeping down there. And that's why I don't think it was, in my opinion, like super targeted, but targeted like targeted, yes, but not targeted for a long period of time. Like he just found some and got unlucky, and they got unlucky. There's a video of him discussing the case. His reflection was in the computer he was filming. Really? I'm gonna have to watch that. He was looking at all of this online content, couldn't sleep. And here's the thing. Another thing that you could use in a defense is like everybody was Googling the murders in that region. So if he's Googling the murders, that doesn't mean he's guilty either, right? We all think, I mean, most of us think probably he is, just basically looking at him and all that stuff. But just looking at the murders online does not make one guilty, because we all Google it. And so I don't think that's going to stick either. Again, that's why they're like still building this case. I think the target was Kaylee, and explains why he never went in the basement. Now, if that's the case, that means that he was Kaylee's stalker. And did Kaylee know, or was there a police report on that? We don't know. And again, they would probably have said that if that's the case. Maybe that he is, and they know that information, and they haven't told us that yet because they want to keep it all private. Maybe he was that. Maybe there was a police report done. Also, he was arrested twice, I think, while driving in PA, really, really close together. One for speeding and one for following too closely. He was not arrested, sorry, pulled over twice. Excuse me. Carrie says, I believe he'd been stalking them for months. He moved to Washington in August and got a traffic ticket in Moscow in August. Yeah, he was pulled over twice. I said arrested. I meant to say pulled over. But that's quite interesting, right? Was he pulled over because... Was that, again, another thing where they're like, getting a local law enforcement agency to say, hey, look, this is the car, this is the plate, pull him over for speeding or following too close, see what happens with his behavior. Does he take off? Does he act crazy? And then that also gives them, some proof, or whatever you want to call it, in court. Why did you take off? Why, maybe they were trying to invoke a chase or invoke him to do something crazy. That seems baitish. I'm not sure if you're allowed to do that as a police officer. I don't know. Kaylee knew about him and she reported it. I hope so. And maybe that's what we don't know yet. People are saying Kaylee's scream deterred him from getting to the last two roommates. Possibly, but those last two roommates haven't come out, and they haven't said anything that they heard anything, right? I have not seen any emails yet. Sorry. I heard Ethan was on the floor dead, so Ethan and Xana were not the targets, by the way. Ethan heard him coming in or using the bathroom or something, and the surviving roommate to see him. I don't know. Here's the thing, MILFs. I still don't understand why he did it. I don't think we're ever going to understand it. And if the case, a lot of people are suggesting, maybe you guys can speak up in the chat here, that the reason he did it was because of what he was studying, and he just took it too far, I guess. Maybe he was trying to, I mean, obviously took it too far. He's psychopathic. Why is he studying serial killers? Is he trying to do it himself? Did he try to get away with the perfect crime, or try to create a way? Was he testing the limits of what he knew? I don't know. His DNA came from the bathroom drain. And how do you know that? That's crazy. How would you know that? Where's that? Apparently, one of the Kaylee Gonzalez's father told Fox News Digital that the victims had big open gouges that were clearly the work of a sadistic male, and called police cowards for not sharing more with the public. Stephen Gonzalez said he asked the coroner, Kathy Mabbitt, how many times the victim were stabbed. She says, "Sir, I don't think stabs is the right word. It was like tears. Like it was a strong weapon, not like a stab." She said these were big open gouges. She said it was quick. These weren't something where you're going to be able to call 911. They were not going to slowly bleed out. Kaylee Gonzalez, 21, her best friend, and obviously they just recap. So he's saying that it wasn't just stabbing, it was like tearing and gouging. That's crazy. Like everyone says, he's either thriving for fame or had compulsions to do it, right? I mean, both can be true. They're not mutually exclusive, I think. This is a case of being too smart for your own good. He's undergoing psychological testing now. Yeah. This is another question a lot of people are trying to talk about right now is, I wouldn't be surprised if he's killed before, like Ted Bundy. Now, everybody's going to be looking through anywhere this guy lived. Are there unsolved mysteries, murders, dogs, animal? Like, because generally serial killers or killers themselves start with animals, if that's what I've heard. And so now everybody's looking through these things to see, are there more? What's happening, right? This guy seems so confident, and his lawyer's like, yeah, he's innocent. So I don't know, man. Here's another thing that we have to talk about as far as when he gets to court and everything else. What do you think he'll use? Because he's saying he wants to be exonerated. He's going to be not guilty is what he's claiming not guilty. What do you think his alibi can be? Right? What do you think he'll say? Yeah, the dog next door. I heard about that. We don't know. I mean, didn't the police say that was not connected? Pretty sure they have DNA. The sheriff said they were pretty confident. This is what I think too. I mean, they got to be super confident to go over 2,000 miles away to arrest this guy. They got to have something that a judge is going to be like, yeah, this is going. Like they're not going to arrest this guy, put him in front of a judge to see if there's going to be a trial unless they've got something super compelling, right? Yeah, Cherry said it's not connected. Idaho does not have the insanity plea. Interesting. Shouldn't anyway. If you do something like that to a person, maybe you are insane, but it shouldn't be a defense, and this shouldn't get you off. I mean, you should be institutionalized for the rest of your life, like without the possibility of ever getting out of there ever. Right? There was a guy who did that here in Canada. He cut a dude's head off and ate some of them on a bus, and he's literally walking the streets now. Because he was insane. If you're insane and you do that to another human, you've revoked all privileges of being in society as far as I'm concerned. So I agree, that should not be a thing. It's so silly. Oh, you're crazy? No worries, come on out. Yeah. Our bad. It's a mental illness. Yeah, no. Sorry, you're staying in this hospital until you die. Enjoy. That's just what happens. Sorry. That's you might have, it might be out of your control or whatever, but you're not allowed to be in society. I cannot believe that's a thing that exists. You need to check into CC more. She does this genealogical DNA. She's the one who figured out the Golden State Killer. Really interesting. He looks eerily like Ted Bundy, attends the same college as Bundy, and targeted sorcery girls. Sorcery girls. He's a vegan, and they think there could be a reason he spared the dog. Wow. Imagine being vegan and... Really? This is the thing. This is the question a lot of people are asking, right? Did he know them or did he pick a random... I think it's kind of a mix of the two. He picked random people, then got to know them by stalking. That's what I think. And... Or we'll never ever know, because he might just stay silent and let the courts do their thing, and then he gets it, right? It's just... I don't think you're going to hear this guy up on the stand. I don't think it's going to happen. Supposedly he drove back to Pennsylvania with his dad. I wonder if his dad has any idea being in the car. Here's another thing that a lot of people were saying is like, so they apparently don't have enough money to hire a lawyer because he's being defended by a public defender, but his dad flew out to Pennsylvania, or sorry, out to Idaho to pick up his son to drive the car back for vacation. Why not just give his son the plane ticket to go home? Right? They went out to get the vehicle. That's what happened, in my opinion. The vehicle needed to be cleaned or needed to be gone. And it's interesting to note that when they released the information about the white car, and then a few days later, driving the white car back. Yeah, to hide the car. That's what I think. That's what I think. I think this is a good comment. I think this has been inside of him in his mind, and that's why he chose this line of study. Maybe he was scared to commit to something because apparently these people are just obviously messed in the head. And so he chose to make it his life's work to study it and then choose the moment when he was ready. That's what I'm thinking. If like the capacity to do this to another human is like very, very rare. Right. And so he likely was living with this in his heart forever, and then chose this line of work because he was super interested in it, and then just one day decided, hey, let's do this. That's what I'm thinking. I also heard his sister used to live next door to that. What? Wow. Do you hear that there might be a link between him and the BTK killer? Apparently BTK killer's daughter was in his... What? Was in his class? Yeah, we read this. We read the survey thing on Reddit. I think he did that survey. Yeah, I think Cherry's dead on. I think a lot of people think that this is... So he did that survey as part of his PhD thesis or whatever he was doing with that in order to gather information in a way that like would exonerate. Because, okay, so hear this out. This is the craziest part of this thing. If this guy wasn't a PhD student and was asking questions like that, it would be like, no problem. But this confuses it more than it helps because this is what he was studying. This is his line of work. So it's a good cover. It's like a Dexter style thing. It's a good cover to that where he's like, hey, I asked those questions because that's like what I'm studying in school. So that's not a guilty thing. That's him saying that's what I did for school, but also is a good way to discover how these guys felt, how they covered up their crimes, how they got away with it, and research through the people who did those types of things to see how he could build his own thing, right? This is why this is such a crazy, interesting case. Yeah, the knife makes it uber personal for sure too, but a knife is also quiet and easy to dispose of. You don't have to buy it and register it and everything else. Nothing like that. You can get a knife anywhere, right? You can get it in the mall. And so very easy to dispose of. You can burn it. You can bury it in the ground. You can throw it in a river, right? The guy drove 2,000 miles. Could have been anywhere along that path. He could have got rid of that thing if he really wanted to. He also discussed the Idaho 4 in the classes. I mean, here's the thing. That doesn't mean he's guilty because if you're literally studying crime, and you're in a university that's 10 minutes away, of course you would talk about it. So I get that, but it's never going to be, that's not prosecuted. You can't be like, well, he was studying. Well, that's what he studied. And that was the talk of the town, obviously. So of course they're going to talk about it. You guys, I don't think people are really fully grasping how convenient what he does is to his defense. Okay, what he does for a living, what he studies in PhD for criminal psychology or whatever he was doing, that is very, very good for his defense. Okay, and or detrimental. It could be both. But it's not, because he's talking about it, because he's searching it, because he's doing all the studies, that's his defense. Is like, that's my studies. Yeah, real life, we're not here to say that we are definitively saying anything. People are just throwing out what they're hearing. And it's mostly probably all wrong. But we're just having a collective conversation here. Nobody's saying it's facts. Nothing here is facts, except for what we know that has been given us by police. That's what this is a crowdsourced conversation. Unless you're saying something real stupid, then we're allowing conversation to go on. Mostly rumors. He studied with the professor that wrote the autobiography on the BTK. Brian Enton interviewed BTK's daughter. I saw that. I saw the Brian Enton interview. So he would eat at the vegan restaurant that the two of the girls worked at and stalked them from there. Has that been confirmed? Because if he is a vegan and that's confirmed, that would make sense if they worked at a vegan restaurant. And that would also make sense that that's how they became a subject of his target, right? How could he get rid of the knife on the drive if he was being watched the whole time? Good question. I don't think he was being watched the whole time. But yeah, if he was, then yeah, I don't know how he would get it. But it's easy to get rid of a knife, in my opinion. Throw it in a river or something. And plus, between the murders and the time he was leaving, he had weeks and weeks and weeks to get rid of that. Thank you, Luke. So he'd been stalking them for weeks based on his cell phone pings. I don't think that the pings have been released to everybody. I mean, that's probably going to be a play in this, and that's probably, and I agree, that's probably going to be a thing because the pinging in the cell phone is a pretty big deal. But again, if someone said his sister lived next to them last year or something, pings, again, aren't really going to be, I mean, that's why they have to build up a case for so many certain, like, it just has to be like, okay, there's no other way this could have went down. Thank you, Genelabra. I sent the inside looking Reddit comments. Okay. Wait, the inside looking Reddit comments. Okay. The person in the hoodie at the food truck, I don't think followed them home. It looked like he waved at them. Yeah, again, again, everybody's been talking about everything, but it came to be that it was nothing that anybody ever talked about at all. Well, I mean, agree and disagree. I mean, true crime is a popular genre these days, but some people need to be careful with assumptions, of course. I feel like they're making it hard for detectives. I don't agree with that last statement. The detectives aren't looking at us for their information. They're doing their protocols. They're following their guts and what they're supposed to do. Thank you, Kim. They're doing all that stuff. We're not making it harder for them, I don't think, unless they're making up. I agree with you. You got to be careful what you say, obviously, but I don't think that police are like, don't talk about it. I don't think so, because they've clearly done their job up to this point. I mean, they're probably going to get a lot of apologies from people who are like, but even Gonzalez's the dad, he's still calling the police out saying he doesn't think that they are doing it right. So yes, I'm a psychologist, and a lot of people in my field get into the field because they want to know more about their own minds. This is very true. I was a psychology major in university, not like I finished it, but it ended up becoming one of my favorite topics because the teacher who taught it was something wrong with it, but he was brilliant. When you start understanding psychology, and I only took child developmental psychology because that was year one, it was the most interesting thing I've ever, and I suck at school, and for some reason I got like straight A's in that class because I couldn't stop listening to it. Psychology is a very interesting topic because everybody wants to understand their own thinking sometimes, right? Yeah, true. What makes it hard? Random people calling in tips. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, that one student who accused that professor of the murders, TikTok has charges against her. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you got to be careful. It's the fact that Kaylee's father speaking to the public, possibly damaging towards the investigation. I believe the suspect followed this case closely, likely as an ego. I think I don't think it's gonna damage the investigation. I think that they'd probably prefer he didn't say any of this stuff. I don't think it's gonna damage an investigation, unless his defense is gonna say, hey, there's no way he can get a proper court case because everybody's gonna be biased. Maybe that. I don't know. I think people will get all the info tomorrow. Think we'll get all the information, but we won't. It is being live streamed, so I'm sure they'll say something. They're gonna have to say, why are you extraditing him back to Idaho? And here's the reason. Here's the compelling evidence we have, that we think we have, and this is why we need him back for the case. You're gonna see something tomorrow, that's for sure. Yeah, this is the thing. With the amount of technology we have available, I think it could be really easy to make the connection for that day. The cell phone pinging, surveillance around the area. Now, everybody and their dog is going to be looking for the Ring doorbell stuff, right? That's for sure. If there's one thing about this case you need to know if you're a student and you live off campus or anybody in the world, have cameras on your house. They're cheap, they're really easy to install, and some of them are really, really good. Everybody get a camera. I have 6 cameras on the outside of my house, okay? Get cameras. It is something you're always going to want to have. I promise you. They are live streaming it. That's what I've heard anyway. Oh, it's not. I heard the last thing I heard it was being live streamed. Did they change their mind? I wonder if his dad noticed cuts on him. If there was, he's had weeks to heal. And apparently his dad's like, based on what I know, I don't think it's true. So we'll see. But what parent wants to believe that about their child? I don't believe the parents had any idea. They're from my hometown and have heard his parents worked at our high school and people have nothing but good things to say about them. I've heard the exact same thing you're saying right there. That's what I heard. I heard it was being live streamed. Oh yeah, what's up with the Brian? The laundry's apparently some big shit's going down over there too. Something about a shovel and burn after reading. So that's stuff. We're covering that as soon as that still goes to trial too. Was there any reason after anyone thought it was Jackass? Why did he flee the country? And he answered, no, I don't know. I mean, think about this for a second though, right? If you're not guilty of something, but the internet's coming after you, it's almost like people have been falsely accused before and have gone to jail for the rest of their life. Some people just make, hey, look, I didn't do it, but I'm not risking it either. So that could be it. I believe Cherry. The court has given permission for it to be streamed. It will be live at 3:30 EST. You guys scared the crap out of me. Brian has had so much time to flee. It shows how cocky he was. Look, yes, or shows how smart he was. Because the defense is going to say, well, he didn't flee. There's no, like, part of convincing a jury of something is going to be like, look, the perception of something. If he fled right away, they'd be like, why did he flee right away? Well, put a question in your mind. You can say anything you want during a trial. Okay, you can say anything, truth or not. It's just up to the jury to believe it or not, right? So if this guy takes off right away, that looks like guilt. The fact that he doesn't take off right away, I think, is to his benefit. I kid you not. He's got class to attend. He's a TA. He goes back to normal life. The fact that he doesn't flee is actually a little bit crazy, and he only goes home for Christmas break. Just saying, I don't think that is a win for the prosecution. That's a win for the defense. It will be live streamed, but I believe it quite boring. The affidavit put it was what everyone's going to... Okay, yeah, you're right. This is what I think, too. I wonder if he did the crime because he thought he could outsmart the police since he's studying criminology. And I think that's what makes this thing so interesting to a lot of people. Could he be doing this because he, like, the fame from it, but could he do it and try to get away with it? That's what I'm thinking. Like, could this be the most immersive PhD thesis in the entire world for some reason? And then maybe he'll come out later and say, yeah, it was me. You know what I'm saying? This could be, if he's looking for the fame, there's a million ways a psychopath could do this. He could get off and then later say, no, it was me. Write a book and write his thesis, but he's still going to jail. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot here. The fact that he studies criminal psychology and criminals in general is really, really crazy. I have no idea if it's been confirmed he was a security guard or not. Didn't look like the security guard type to me. So why did his dad drive with him back? Was he just going home for a break? Makes more sense to fly home. That's what we're all asking. Why take the car home? I don't think there's a statute of limitations for murder. No, I don't think so, especially in a state with the death penalty. Do you think he had help? Did he have the strength to pull it off? I think he did it alone. That's a lot to keep two people together. Imagine you had help and they know he has it. Someone's going to turn on someone. This guy seemed like a big loner, and if you look at all the people talking about it from his past, one thing that stands out among all the other, monikers about him was that he was a loner. So, bank statements, phone records, absolutely. Yep. Inside looking was traced. His email on Reddit. I don't know what that means. Inside looking. Are you saying the person that was inside looking, the username inside looking was traced to be his email? The holidays are a good cover to flee. Yep. Do we know for sure they haven't found the murder weapon? Because the interview with the sheriff, they said they couldn't release that information yet. No, we don't know for sure. No. That's going to be a big one, though. That's a smoking gun type of thing, right? You're talking DNA evidence, could be fingerprints. Oh, no. Don't come in. Oh, it's the dog. Hold on. Hi, everyone. Came over here, got yelled at another channel. For what? We don't yell at people here. I'm not seeing any video messages in my Twitter. Sorry. Doesn't have a lock on it. One day a murderer's gonna come in here. Interesting. Okay, I can show that. Thoughts on this guy being at the vigil? My initial thought is not at this picture, but for some reason, as soon as I go to this picture and see him, how tall and lanky he is, I'm saying yes. Interesting. Yeah, his eyes look creepy. This guy looks creepy. I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but dang, this guy's creepy. I've got words. Do you think he really called into that podcast? I don't know about that for sure. I don't know. What's the best email? Just Josh at thedadchallengepodcast.com. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, just like the idea of him not going home right away, if he did go, I think the defense could say, well, that's just what everybody did. It still is not an admission of guilt to go to this thing that thousands of people went to, right? What's up, Tommy? The email is traced back. Okay. Interesting. Well, I'll have to look into that a little bit more. I think he wants to see if he can get away with it. It sounds like he's ready to take on the prosecutor. Well, that's what it sounds like to me, too. I mean, I'm sure that police are looking for sure now that they have this guy and they know who he is and where he's been. Yeah, probably looking for sure. That's probably the first thing they did. Yeah, the chin is off a little bit, I think. I think you're right there. A Reddit thread has 33 pages of his comment. I'll have to take a look. I'm going to have to go look through that stuff myself tonight. Well, think about this too for a second, Kayla. She says, no, but it's weird, and he thinks he was too good not to get caught. But if you think about this for a second, like there was nothing for weeks and weeks, over months, and it was like, what happened? So maybe at some point he just realized, hey, I'm probably going to get away with this. And that's why I'm still actually kind of like scared that like they have something, but it might not be enough. I don't know. I had another thing open here. Where was it? Okay, I'll take a look at this real quick. Not seeing that email. Oh, I see here. Okay, so this is what this person is saying here. I can show you this. So if it is true, and at this point, all I'm going to say at this juncture, or whatever you want to call it, is that maybe it's true that this guy, his name is Inside Looking, is Brian. But at this point, we're just saying it's alleged, and we don't know until it's confirmed. Now, this guy Inside Looking here, you can see here, is posting in Idaho Murders. And so if this guy's on the site looking, talking, then that would be crazy. If it's linked to him, that's going to be pretty hard to defend in a court of law. If they can link this guy back to that. Look at the killer's route. Blood runs down from Xe's room, not stairs. You mean 0% chance? Wow, you got him. Whoa. Killer didn't walk there, in my opinion. Oh my gosh. Killer enters sliding door and exits sliding door. If KMMM were targets, the path doesn't cross XE, and XE were targets, the path doesn't cross. So this guy is, oh my gosh. Are you sure like this is the guy? Like they're 100% sure that this is him? And if this guy was so active in these threads, is he no longer active in these threads? That's the question. Because he's in jail now, so stops posting after caught. But again, if it's a hoax, that's what the person would do anyway, right? The cops were saying no suspects, but now we know they have been watching him and collecting evidence. So they think they would. Yeah, that's a good point. They said they didn't have a suspect. The police would shut it down if it was really him. You think? Killer went in XE room, then MK. If the case is, then if they can definitively connect this inside looking to Brian, then he's basically admitting to what he did. Why would the killer leave two people alive at the scene? Movement was intentional. The kitchen was the entry point. Killer's route would be kitchen and stairs. Path does not cross. Yeah, this is crazy. I mean, until we can figure out if that's the person, that's going to be a smoking gun if that's the case. But at this point, it could just be a hoax. In my opinion, experience, the police knew who they were just building their case. But why would the police lie and say they didn't have a suspect when they did? Thank you very much, Queen Simmer. Good observation. But if he was smart enough, he wouldn't post like that, knowing he can betray. Exactly. That's, I think, I honestly believe that's too convenient. That would be too much of a nah. If he went the route of hiding everything else, I don't think so. But could be a psychopath and just wanted to do that. To not spook him. That's true. But then why release the Hyundai Sonata picture? Or whatever, the launcher or whatever he was driving. Why release that if they didn't want to spook him? I think they released that because they did want to spook him. They wanted to see what he would have done once they released that information. So I think they did want to spook him. Christina says it best. Smash the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button, please. Thank you. I appreciate it. I think he was fixated on the two girls on the third floor, nobody else. Oh, I'm sure Luna's around somewhere. I sent you an email about the Shaytards list. Okay. I'll take a look at it. I wonder if that aligns with the car hiding in his parents' garage. What? I'm not sure if this is true or not, but if the dad came on Fox News and was saying something like it wasn't just stabbing, it was like insanity. They tracked him the whole way back to PA. That's what I'm thinking too. Police lie all the time. I believe when they released info about the car, they had already had a feeling of who it was, and they just had to get enough warning. Yeah, I think, Katie, you're right about this. I think the issue is they wanted to see how he'd react when they released the information about the car. Because wouldn't it be crazy? Like, okay, release that, and then the next day he takes off, right? That's what they were looking for. Thank you, Andre. Appreciate it. Thanks, Nina. Thought he was smart, but got busted through a DNA website. Yeah. Was he in Pennsylvania when they released the photo of the car? I don't think so, because the car was released a couple of weeks ago. As far as I'm aware. I could be wrong about that. They tracked him for 4 days before the arrest. I think they were just trying to see what he was doing. Maybe they're looking for him to get rid of a murder weapon or something. Yeah, maybe. Nice. Color changing cup. Well, if he is convicted in Idaho, he will probably get the death penalty. Now, if he makes a plea and says he's guilty, then he won't get the death penalty. Gus, what do you think, buddy? What do you think, Gus? What do you think, Gus? No? He's tired. I think they offer a deal for a second degree. This is weird. He wore gloves everywhere while they went watching. And hands in the pockets at the vigil. I get that, but how do you guys know he was wearing gloves everywhere? Where is that information? Like at the grocery stores and stuff like that. I mean, it is winter, but where's that information? Yeah, this is what I think too. I think they released the car info to see if you do anything drastic, like spook him. That's what I think too. This is what I agree to. Jen Marie says he wouldn't bring that car all the way to Pennsylvania if he wasn't trying to hide something. Agreed. Could they have gotten DNA from garbage outside his house? Well, they arrested him now. They can get his DNA now. Here's the thing, right? So they can arrest him and they can take his DNA and now they're probably processing. He was just arrested. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago? They have his DNA now. They have a definitive DNA swab that they've gotten, and now they're trying to connect it to the DNA that they have at the scene. If that's the case, they're going to have like a direct connection. Right now, if it sounds like what they have is genealogical DNA, meaning it was connected to someone in their family who's done 23andMe, and they found that through that, and it's still not a definitive connection, now they have a swab and they can connect that DNA. Yeah, death penalty is years and years away. They have to exhaust every possible avenue of everything before they do that. Did the 4 college students have any relationship with the killer? A couple of things have been mentioned inside this chat, that Brian was a vegan and often went to the restaurant that the 2 girls worked at. That could be a connection. That's the only connection I've seen so far. All right, here's the Daily Mail. I'll show you guys this article. The article. Idaho suspect stalked victims for weeks and wore gloves after quadruple murder to avoid leaving trail of evidence. Claims friend of investigator. He claims friend of investigator. He's not stupid and has been very careful. Brian Koberger allegedly stalked the 4 University of Idaho students for weeks before the killings occurred, according to a friend of a cop who tracked him. The source said the suspect was seen wearing gloves after the murders, even to a supermarket, because he's not stupid and has been very careful. So what it sounds like is Brian might have thought he was a suspect, and so they were probably tracking and following him, looking for DNA evidence or fingerprints, and that's why he was... Holy, if that's true, damn. Koberg was arrested at his family and home Friday following more than a month-long investigation. Source said cell phone data showed he was the same area as his victims the weeks leading up to their deaths. So it looks like he was being pinged while stalking them. That's what they're thinking here, right? If he was vegan, was he eating leather gloves? Eating gloves? I mean, wearing gloves? They can get his DNA easily now, yeah. So a good friend of ours was one of the cops who had been following him the last couple of days. The source explained in their connection to the surveillance. Oh my gosh, would you ever hang out with somebody who looked like this? Not kidding. That's Creep Town, man. That's a Creep Town, USA. Anonymous, please. He was arrested only 40 minutes from our home near aunt and uncle's, went to school with my cousins. His sister lives in our town. A good friend of ours was one of the cops who'd been following him the last couple of days. He coaches with my husband and was telling him all crazy details. He followed him into a giant local grocery store and wore gloves the entire time. He's not as stupid, has been very careful. Also, he's been stalking them for weeks. Not sure if they ever interacted, but his cell phone pings followed their every move for weeks. So freaking scary and disturbing. I've been so invested in this case the last 6 weeks, and to find out how close he is to us and that one of our friends found him and arrested him is just crazy. Whoa. Whoa. Many killers have been shown to have a high IQ. Yeah? Now, you know, I'm not a killer because I'm dumb as F. He's a vegan, so... The gloves thing could be OCD related, but that can be easily debunked if he doesn't wear them in class, doesn't wear them in, you know. There's going to be years and years of students who've gone to school with him or who learn under him that can say, well, he doesn't wear gloves at school. Why we wear them in a grocery store, not school? You know, I mean, I don't know. But again, you're right. That defense could be like, hey, it's COVID. Wear gloves because I don't want to get COVID at the grocery store. I get that too. Yeah, I'm not saying the source is reliable, but if it comes out that that's a plausible thing. Not saying it's right, but that's pretty plausible. Could be infatuation with one of the gals. Here's the thing about I'm going back to that other thing you just said. That's not plausible. But think about that. That's probably the most plausible thing we've heard about this case so far. The connection is unclear, but if the connection is that he went to the restaurant that they served at and became enamored with them, that's a connection. It's very plausible. The second is the Facebook post where she says the cop said that he's pinging with them everywhere because they can look at the girl's cell phone pinging and then they're going to match it up to his pinging. That's really, really simple to put together. Okay? Very, very easy. That's one of the most plausible things that makes sense. That's Occam's razor right now. Right? The simplest explanation makes the most sense. So if they're pinging it and that's the evidence they have, that's like, you're going to jail, buddy. So that's, I know it's not confirmed, but that to me is the most plausible thing so far. Yeah. There's so much we don't know until he gets to Idaho. That rhymed. Maybe camera footage, concrete DNA, phone traces, data. The police look too smug, which is good. How did he not kill the other two girls in the house? I mean, again, what I think is probably that he didn't know there was a door there. I don't know if he knew there was not a basement. I don't know. Seems like he went in through the sliding doors and maybe he thought the basement was a garage. I don't know. That's what I think. Yeah. I'm real crime. I think he wants to do a trial to show his intelligence. He probably won't take deals and say he's always innocent. Yeah, the Bundy one was crazy because if you actually watch the documentary on Bundy, which is very, very good, by the way, Zac Efron, I think, did it. He did that for the fame. It'll be interesting to see how this guy reacts in court and everything else. It's going to be really, really interesting to see it. Yeah, stalked him for weeks. He knew what he was doing. This is the thing. If I was a juror in a court of law, and I saw the fact that there was a connection to him at the restaurant, and then I saw the pinging of the cell phones in tandem for weeks, guilty. Guilty. Sorry. Could have been exhausted, because, yeah, he looks like he needs protein, and he probably could get exhausted, or got scared or spooked. Maybe the dog came after him. I mean, a million things could have happened. I think he was writing a book on the perfect murder, and this was his final chapter. That would be the most morbid thing, and I hope that never, ever gets released if that's the case. Thank you, Nina. No offense to vegans, but there are studies linking a vegan diet to depression and mental illness. Never heard of that. He was in the house waiting for them to get home. That's why the dog was chill. No barking. He made friends with it when no one was there. And if he'd been there before the killings, the dog might know him. But that doesn't make sense if... Nah. No. They're sleeping when he gets into the house. That's what I believe. Cell phone pings are... You can triangulate anybody's whereabouts with their cell phone. If you're carrying a cell phone at all times, that shit is pinging constantly for alerts. You get an email. You're getting... like if you have any app that's doing any tracking in your phone, and I promise you, you all do, some of them are tracking you in real time and listening to your conversations in real time. Okay. That thing is constantly pinging off towers. And so they can triangulate exactly where you are within like a few meters to some degree, depending on where you are. And so what they do is they take the pinging of the girl's cell phones, and then they take the pinging of his cell phones, and they line up the timelines. And if it's anywhere near it to a degree within the margin of error, they can say, look, this guy has literally been around them for weeks. Why? Right? When he lives 10 miles away. Oh, who's that? Oh, hey, Roni. Damn, that scared me. Freaking cat. Hey, buddy. Can you come say hi? Come here. Scared the poo out of me, you little jerk. I don't like talking about murder and then cats coming in and scaring me. Right, Roni? This is Macaroni, everybody. Okay. Gus, leave him alone. Come here. Come say hi, Gus. Come here. Gus, Gus. Come here. Come here. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Hey. Leave him alone. Come here. Come over here. Gus, leave him alone. Come say hi. Come say hi. Come on. Come say hi to everybody. Hi, Gus. Gus will protect me. You couldn't even, a fly couldn't come into this house without Gus going bananas. Someone even steps onto the steps of my front door. Gus is bananas, so I'm good. Yeah, Macaroni doesn't like it. He likes snuggling on his own terms. Yeah, Macaroni's 15. Gus, leave him alone. I think he hated women. He was an incel. Ethan was there. Yeah. Incel, a lot of people throwing around incel. Makes a lot of sense. The dog was found in a second floor empty bedroom. Interesting. People are saying this, that the sister was a neighbor of some kind. That would be crazy. I know. You guys ever, who grew up in the 90s? Anybody? You know, when we were latchkey kids? Have you ever had to stay home alone by yourself when you're like 10, 9, 10, 11 years old? And for some reason, you turned on Unsolved Mysteries. And then you're like, there's definitely a murderer outside of my house right now. While you're watching Unsolved Mysteries with the music. Have you ever done that? That was me. And then like, if you were in the basement and had to go upstairs, turn the light on and run the stairs as fast as possible. Is that just me? Nobody else? Okay. So don't watch Unsolved Mysteries if you're 10 years old by yourself at home. Okay. Pitch black outside. Definitely murderers everywhere. The music on Unsolved Mysteries is the creepiest music ever written. If you ask two alive roommates didn't hear, you have to ask how Zane and Ethan didn't hear. If they heard something, it would have time to call 911. Okay, we're not even, and I don't think we're going to ever know what those roommates knew until the trial, because they're going to probably have to be called as witnesses too. Oh, America's Most Wanted. Yeah, that one. Wait, what was I saying? Unsolved Mysteries or America's Most Wanted? No, it was America's Most Wanted. Or was it Unsolved Mysteries? It was one of them. And then you're like, okay, this guy's Unsolved Mystery. He's a murderer on the loose. You're like, that murderer is definitely outside my house. Even though that was in Ohio and I live in Canada. He's definitely here looking in my window at me watching Unsolved Mysteries. That was what was going on. It was Unsolved Mysteries. That's what it was. What did I say? Yeah, the John Walsh one. Yeah, that was... Oh. Then you watch Cops. And you stay real late and you can get on those channels that are all fuzzy. You know what I'm saying? Maybe see a boob. All right. Well, so I guess tomorrow we'll keep an eye on the trial and see what we learn tomorrow. Everybody over at 10 to Life and the Will's channel and see what they're talking about too, because they're really, really into this. I'm going to stick by the fact that this is what I'm sticking by tonight as we leave this chat. Okay. Connection was at the vegan restaurant. If he's a vegan, okay, that's going to be depending on that. He's eating there, finds the connection. I think it's going to be the pings that get him. That's going to be the stalking. And I think you're going to see the evidence, the DNA evidence be connected. That's what I think is going to happen here. So thank you for being here. We've been here for over an hour. It's pretty cool. So, we'll keep track of it tomorrow. Maybe we'll do another live tomorrow if anything interesting happens. This was like big updates in this. We'll keep track of it for sure. And then we'll get back to the Gabby Petito trial when it happens, because that's going to be, I think you see some bombshells with that. I honestly do. So thank you so much. Oh, Will's channel is The Glare. Okay. And Annie from 10 to Life. So thanks for joining me, everybody, tonight. I'm going to bed because I'm tired. I'll see you tomorrow.